Radical Radio presents Radical Talk with the Think Tank. What is radicalism? Radicalism is the beliefs or actions of individuals, groups, or organizations who advocate for thorough or complete social and or political reform to achieve an alternative vision of American society. Join us as we engage in conversations regarding radical changes to lifestyles as they relate to physical, mental, and social well-being in North Chicago, Illinois. And let us know if these changes can relate to your city too. Listen, join the founder of the North Chicago think tank, William Coleman, and the founder and host of the Radical Radio podcast for our also radical discussion. Let's go, y'all. What's good, y'all? Y'all already know what time it is. It is Wednesday, and it's a radical time with the North Chicago Think Tank. As you guys know, I am your host, your girl, Coach L, the host of this dope platform. But this is a series that we have brought together in collaboration. When I tell y'all, two powerful people coming together, collaborating, talking about some radical things. Not only things that taunt our communities, but things that taunt our mind. We are, very good at speaking on things, being radical, promoting change. So that's what we come to do tonight. I definitely want to read to you what the North Chicago Think Tank is about. It is a policy research, reform, and advocacy focused project aimed at improving the quality of life for citizens of North Chicago, Illinois, by building and growing local power, creating spaces for Black imagination and innovation, and centering Black joy. I'm gonna tell y'all again, I love the term Black joy. It make me happy. You know what I'm saying? That's just what that is. That just brings, me a lot of light. It brings a lot of joy. It brings a lot of light. So let's go ahead and get into it. How you doing, Billy?
I'm doing good. What's up from Acapulco, Mexico? Nice to be here.
Yes. For the newcomers, Billy is in Acapulco, Mexico. Billy, tell them how you got to Acapulco.
So this is what's called the work way. So this is my way of doing self-care. I remove myself from the United States and I go to another country and I engage with a culture somewhere in the world. And this time I have chosen Mexican culture and I'm learning how to dive in Acapulco, Mexico. And it's been about 3 weeks, going on 4 weeks, and I'll be here for 5 months, just practicing self-care, doing therapy, and learning how to dive.
That's awesome. For those of you that don't know, Billy is waiting for everybody to come visit him, okay? He's like, look, y'all really gonna sit up here and play, act like y'all don't want to come visit me. Come visit me. He is down there living his best life, okay? If you don't know, y'all got to go on his timeline on Instagram or Facebook and really check out the things that he is doing. It is amazing. Now, you had some issues with some pozole over the week.
Yeah, so I've been engaging with pozole culture, which is an authentic Mexican soup, and it comes in red, white, or green, so rojo, verde, or blanco. And
come on, Billy.
Yeah, come on. I'm practicing my Espanol, trying to be.
Yes.
And so every Thursday we get together as a family and we go for pozole, and there ended up being a salsa situation and tequila got involved and mezcal. So yeah, it was a fun misunderstanding, but yeah.
Listen, and I'm telling y'all, when I tell y'all to really, pay attention to his story and pay attention to the things that he's doing, it just brings me so much joy to see him living outside of his box. He's not in that standard box where, he's just kind of going with the flow. He's literally letting go and living life. And to me, he is the epitome of what it means to really, truly live life on his own terms, really being able to, experience something that's like not the norm. And he's been doing this for a long time. This is not his first time. He's traveled. very well traveled. So this is not his first time. So if you go on Instagram and you really check out his page, you can tell that he's kind of been all over. He is what I call like a real village keeper, because he like go and find the villages and want to learn about everything. And it's just an amazing thing. I definitely pray one day that I can, be as courageous and go on and step out of my box and do what he's doing. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to go ahead.
If you want to follow my platform, please, on Instagram, it's Black and Abroad Official. Black and Abroad Official, and there you can all of my travels, and you can also follow us at North Chicago Think Tank at Instagram.
There we go. There we go, y'all. So the questions that we're going to talk about today, obviously last week we talked about radical vocabulary. Billy definitely wants to move into a broader way of speaking, and making sure that we're doing things on purpose, which it was thriving, flourishing, and
prospering,
right? So when I hear thriving, flourishing, and prospering, it's kind of like it puts me in the mood to see like a flower just blossoming into its, final stages, just beautiful, like a tulip. It starts out just, kind of closed. And as that tulip branches out, you can see the different colors in the middle, and you can just see that tulip just blossom. So when I hear those terms, that's what I think of. I think of a flower just blossoming into its beautiful natural state, right? So Billy, can you tell the people why you decided to start using those terms, flourishing, thriving, and prospering? I think we got a lag here.
I think we, can you hear? Can you hear me?
I got you.
Yes. Okay. So we started talking about radicalism and how, radicalism is kind of gray for a lot of people. They don't know what it really means. And it could be violent for some people in their perception. It can be dangerous to some people in their perception, or it can just be romanticized. But I really wanted to take the time to start to use words that clearly articulate a vision that we all understand for why we want to make changes in our mental state, in our physical state, or our perception of well-being. And sometimes we can get lost in these phrases like, oh, I'm living my best life, right? And while that sounds, it's really tough to articulate, what does that mean? What is your best life? And for me, words like prospering, flourishing, and thriving, those are shared understandings. You say that word and someone knows, oh, he means that I am living my fullest perception of life. I'm not at a want for anything. I'm being nourished. I'm being well fed. I'm being supported emotionally, spiritually, physically. And I really wanted to kind of lay those down as we go into 2022 so that people understand why we're fighting and why we're saying we're so far from flourishing. We're so far from thriving. We're so far from prospering. And sometimes people get, when you talk about radicalism, they're like, why are you always causing trouble? And it's simply because we want to be thriving. We want to be flourishing, and we want to be prospering.
That is good. When I think about what you just said, it takes me back to how I'm always, like in my life, I'm always like, dang, why I always got to go through? Like, why it always got to be something that I got to go through, right? And at one point I remember saying, like, when work is good, and, everything is great at work, like it be something shifting in my home. And when my home is doing great, it be something shifting at work, or, just, it's always something that may not be in its proper place in life. Mm-hmm. But when you look at your life and you look at the different entities of your life, you want to look at them as if they're prospering, they're thriving, and they're flourishing. And that's where we get to that point of radicalism, because like you said, a lot of people say, being radical, it could be terms that would bring you to say, oh, they're bad or they're causing trouble. I remember being in an interview and I was explaining to them my brand, Radical Life. And the guy was looking at me and he was like, well, radical, that could be kind of like bad. And I'm like, absolutely. I understand where you're coming from, but my type of radical is not a bad radical. It's a, igniting change because I've gone through certain situations in my life and I am dedicated. When I tell you, I'm dedicated to break generational cycles. I'm dedicated to that. Like, my life seems to revolve around that because it's so hurtful when you identify and when you can see a cycle and you can, like visual, okay, this is why I am the way I am, then it becomes like almost imperative that you want to change that. And so that's the type of radical that I'm talking about. When radical life comes, aboard, it's to incite some radical change. So with that being said, y'all, we're going to get into the question. Billy, I want to ask you, why is authentic volunteering so radical?
Yeah, so this is a tough one. So as you guys know, the North Chicago think tank it's a nonprofit organization and it's based on volunteering. And over the past year, we experienced a lot of burnout, and a lot of our volunteers just gave as much as they possibly could. And it took a lot of energy out of them. And it made me realize that authentic volunteering, meaning you're just giving because you want to, is truly symbiotic, right? You're looking, you think about like a bee and a flower, right? Or you think about us in plant life. We give the carbon dioxide, the plant gives the oxygen. And it kind of just works for both of us. And that's what I believe volunteering is supposed to be. It's supposed to be that you're giving something and what you're giving is helping someone else, and then they're giving something back in exchange and it's helping you. But unfortunately, right now, we live in such a transactional society, right? And so it's so radical for you to say to someone, I just want to help you. Like, it's so people can't really vibe with that because it's so non-existent. You know,
Right.
when people think about organizations set up to help them, it's always something somewhere where they're getting a profit or they're benefiting in some transaction somewhere. And so true authentic volunteering is so radical because it's not traditional, it's symbiotic. And that's so far away from how we operate. Back in the day, there used to be a little bit of that where you just checked on your neighbor because you wanted, to know how people were doing. And if somebody needed some help, you just gave it to them and they would do the same for you. But now it's kind of like, well, just do something for me. And if you do something for me, I kind of mark it and it was a transaction. And I'll just keep track of that transaction. And maybe later on, I'll give you a transaction. Another reason why authentic volunteering is so radical is because we haven't addressed the fact that we ask overexploited people to volunteer to help other overexploited people. And that is really tough. When you're saying, I'm poor, I'm exploited, I'm stressed, I'm going through trauma, I got PTSD, but something in me is saying that I should help other people. So I'm trying to help, but I'm not getting the mental health services that I need. I'm not getting the physical health services that I need. My well-being is not actually being measured. So you think about somebody doing all that work. Wow, you know what I mean? And then they're not being credited for it because even when you do that kind of work, you're still required to be paying your bills. No one's giving you any extra. You're not, given any really social credit. No one is like, making things easier for you. So all of these pieces combined really, helps you understand why authentic volunteering is so radical. It's such a change
It
from
is.
form.
You know what? I gotta go here. I gotta go here, right? Us as people of faith, right? we hear the word from the Bible that says, if you take care of God's people, God will take care of you, right? So when I heard you say there's overexploited people volunteering to help overexploited people, we have to get away from using the word of the Bible, right, to still not take care of ourselves and to still like be at a deficit. Does that make sense?
It does.
Right. A lot of times we used, our faith and our spirituality and what we believe, and we're supposed to be these strong people in Christ because we believe we can do anything through Christ who strengthens us, right? We absolutely can. Okay. I believe wholeheartedly that we absolutely can. But then it also comes to a place where you have to be able to take care of self in order to be that person who knows without a shadow of a doubt that you can do all things, right?
Yes.
So we get to that place, and it goes back to the radical volunteering. We can't volunteer when we're empty inside, because it's like you're pouring from an empty cup. So you're struggling in your home. So you go out and you volunteer, because and let me be clear, I've done it. So this is why I'm speaking on it. She is me. All right. Let's keep it a buck. Okay.
Mhm.
I have gone out, I have volunteered, I have helped whoever going through, whatever it is they're going through, whether their lights are cut off, whether, they need somebody to pack up some clothes, whether they need to donate some clothes or whatever. And I'm struggling paying my bills. But in my mind, I'm like, well, hey, I'm going to be a blessing to others. I'm not going to concern myself with my issue right now. And I'm going to go over here and I'm going to help my brother and my sister. And it makes me feel good, but it still has a void somewhere. So it's not radical volunteering. You get what I'm saying? Because I'm doing it, but I'm empty, and we got to get to that place where we understand we want to radically volunteer. I want to be able to go and say, listen, I just want to help, but I don't want to go home and cry my eyes out because I'm going through my own stuff. You get what I'm saying?
Yes. And you don't want to be in this place where you are saying, well, I just have to be doing that. Like it's checking, right? Yes. And so I really, this is another reason why I come out into nature and I just kind of study it to try to say, like, what lessons can I get from nature? And I think about that relationship between us and trees, right? The trees are giving us oxygen and we're giving them carbon dioxide, but the trees never take more than we can give. You never feel out of breath when you're around trees, right? Because it's like 50-50. You give what you got and they gonna give what they got. You look at a bee and a flower, it never over pollinates. It never takes too much. The bees never worn out. And I think that's that when I try to draw that line, when the think tank tries to draw that line between authentic volunteering and symbiotic relationships, we're trying to talk about balance. We're trying to say if it was balanced, you would just be giving and receiving, and it would just be so honest and authentic and pure that it would just be.
Yeah, that's the reward. It's kind of like when I think about operating in your purpose, like once you identify and you realize what your purpose is, it makes life so much different for you. It's like a lens is like uncovered, right? So when you're able to get to that place of radical volunteering, it's like, okay, the blinders are off, the mask is gone. I'm just volunteering. I'm just wanting to be a help, and yes, we're giving and we're taking, and that's what it is. So that's awesome. Let's talk about whose responsibility is it to help others?
And this is a tough one, right? This is a tough one because when you talk about volunteering, right, most people who volunteer, they volunteer because they're realizing that they have more than others, right? And something inside them has said, and this is a conscious matter, not everyone who has more than others volunteers. It's those of us who feel like we have some sort of moral compass and we're looking around and we're saying, man, something's not right. Some people have more, and I seem to have more of something. Maybe it's time or energy or money or resources. And I want to give those to other people because I want to be accountable for what I'm for the fact that it's not balanced. And I think we all are responsible for helping each other. I think it's something that's been lost in communities that have become completely transactional and completely independent, because you stop reading the surroundings, right? When you start reading the surroundings and you're like, oh, I remember being young and being in school and used to look at everybody's different lunches. And you could kind of tell, oh, this person got this and I got this, and some people would trade or whatever. But sometimes you would see that somebody's lunchbox wasn't filled like everybody else's lunchbox, right? And I think that kind of examination is supposed to be happening all the time. We all supposed to be looking out for each other and saying, does that person have the same that I have? And do I want to have more than everybody else? Or am I cool with everybody being, equal and sharing? So I think that's something that everybody should be doing. But I think it also requires us to start talking about privilege and advantage, right? When you start to talk about these social structures and it's like, okay, I'm a man. And as a man, I get access to certain advantages and certain privileges because of the way the system is set up. Am I willing to be accountable and help others, or leverage some of that privilege to help people from a gender that's not getting the same advantages as I am? And I think that's still a huge debate. People still say, well, it's not my fault. It's not my fault that I just happen to be born into all this privilege. But I think that's a conversation that I'd like to hear from the community more. I'd like to hear the community say, what do you think? I don't think, I really hate to see when poor people are charged with helping other poor people. We do it well, but I think that's a bit unfair for me.
I'm gonna ask you this question: do you think that there's privilege within our communities? Because we work in the same community. We've worked in the same community before, right? And what I feel like we need to get back to is the village. You've seen how villages abroad have worked and how they help one another, and how everybody is there for one another. We've gotten to a place in our communities where a lot of us don't even know our neighbors, right? A lot of us don't go over and welcome them to hold on.
No, keep it organic. Family in the place.
Sorry, y'all.
No worries.
Pull it down something on her. But okay, so yeah, I think it comes to a point where we really need to get back to the village, really making sure that we're trying to assist one another and not just saying, oh, that ain't my problem. Oh, this person's son wilding out over there. Oh, dang, man, that's messed up. And that's our biggest thing. We just say, dang, that's messed up. Nobody is saying like, hey, I see what's going on, but how can I help you? Is there anything that I could, just even asking the question? Most of us would be like, no, we got it, because then we're back into that place where nobody wants to tell you their business. Nobody wants you to know what's going on in their home. What goes on in my home stays in my home.
Yes.
All that good stuff. Like, how are we supposed to combat that in our community? Like, how would you say that we could get back to the village?
So I would say, and this is something that I notice in a lot of the communities that I go into that are strong in community, like strong in village aesthetic, they establish relativity first. So like when I was in India, there is no, and I always talk about this, they don't say sir or ma'am, right? Because sir or ma'am is very transactional, right? You're a customer or something. And I found that they say uncle and auntie. If you meet somebody, it's your uncle or it's your auntie, right? And that's how you address them.
Gotcha.
In Latin America, I'm experiencing a little bit of Mexico right now. I don't hear a lot of sir or ma'am. Even when I say that, they're kind of like, why are you saying that, right?
Right.
They use words like mi amor or my love, right? They say these words all the time, and I think that's where we can start. We have to start just speaking to each other. Make it normal to speak to each other again. This notion that you see a black person and you're not supposed to address them, that you're not supposed to speak to them, that you're not supposed to wish love and prosperity and peace, like just saying good morning, right? Just saying, when I walk down the street now, I'm buenos dias, buenos dias, buenos dias, just saying good morning, good morning, good morning. That's such, it's so different than how it is back home. It's plug in those earphones, don't say nothing to nobody, don't make eye contact. And I think that's one of the first steps. We got to get comfortable speaking to each other, and we got to get comfortable having people speak to us and saying it's okay if it's only two black people in the room that you run up and say hi. It's okay.
Absolutely. It's okay. And, I learned a lot when I first moved down to Georgia, just because, I would drive it. I would, drive into my subdivision and I would see people walking and they would just start waving like, hey, hey. And seeing that I came from the North, I was just like, wow, who are they? Like, why are they talking to me? They don't even know me. But then I realized that they just do that because that's their form of Southern hospitality. So being that I had spent so much time there, I got used to speaking to people. So even when I come home, I'm like, hey, how you doing? When I go to the grocery store, hey, how you doing? And one of my big things is I say queen. Like, especially my sisters, when I see my sisters, hey, queen, how are you? Hi, beautiful, how are you? Hi, gorgeous, how are you? And a lot of people look at me like, okay, what's that? My cousin, she said to me, she said, do you be trying to be funny when you be saying queen? Like, do you say queen because you're trying to check somebody? No, absolutely not. I just feel like we go through so much in life, right? Look at my grandbaby, y'all. Here she comes.
Hey, what's the name?
Rain.
Hi, Rain.
Say hi, Rain. Look, she trying to get up here. We get to the point of, she was like, are you trying to be funny? And I'm like, no, absolutely not. I'm like, it's a term of endearment. Like, I want my sisters to know that, hey, I see you, queen. I see you. You're, and even I can be like in a parking lot and I see, one of my queens, I'd be like, girl, you rocking that coat, or girl, I love your hair. And it had, people do it for me as well. So it makes me feel great because you know what? We never know what a person is going through. We don't know what kind of day they had. We don't know, if something is wrong. So when they see somebody that is there to be able to, smile and say, hey, and, give them a term of endearment, it makes somebody feel good. Like, you can change a person's day, because you're affirming them. Like you said, mi amor, that's, hey, my love, that's awesome. Yeah. We need to hear those words of affirmation. We need to hear positivity, in order to, change the negative connotation that we deal with in life.
And I think we have to make space for people to say that they don't know what to do with authentic affection, right?
Woo! Because yes,
a lot of people, like you said, if someone says queen or someone says king or someone says whatever, the first thing they're going to think is you trying to be funny, or you trying to pull something, you trying to run some sort of transaction, right? And I go back to what I was saying earlier about transactional society, where they're like, what you trying to get at? What you trying to get at? Why are you giving me affection? Why are you,
or what you want?
What do you want? Right? We have to make space for people to say, I'm not used to affection. I'm not used to affection on a sustainable, consistent basis, right? I'm not used to someone just always affirming me. I'm not used to someone always complimenting me. I'm not used to someone always giving me positive energy. I'm so used to defending. I'm so used to battling. I'm so used to putting my chest out or throwing my elbow, maintaining distance, that when someone comes close, it feels like an attack, right? And we think the sad part is we think we attack each other, or we think that we're prepped to attack each other. So even if you look at when you get into those inner city spaces, everybody's really rough and everybody's really hard and everybody's really like, who's going to attack next? But really inside, we're all soft.
Yes.
And we're all saying, I want somebody to authentically volunteer with me. I want somebody to give me affection and I want to give affection to them. And it saddens me that that's right. Because if you look at classic displays of masculine energy, right, it's not saying that. It's staying away from saying that you need love. Don't say that. Don't say that you need affection. Don't say that you need positive energy. Don't say that you need a friend. Don't say that you need camaraderie. Don't say that you need family structure, right? And when I walk to my dive shop every day, I see the fathers taking their daughters to school, and they hug them. They be hugging them. Mm-hmm. It's so normalized. It's not a thing, right? Right. It's not a, oh, look, that dad is like,
oh, look, I'm taking my daughter to school.
Right. It's very much just like the fathers be hugging on the daughters. And I was like, man, like, that's just really dope, right? That like public embrace, right? We still, if you go into some of these hard hit, overexploited communities, public embrace is not common. You're not seeing people walk down the street holding hands. You're not seeing people hugging. Maybe in the homes, for sure. We got those little cells of, during the holidays or whatever. But I'm talking about just somebody walking down the street and you just waving and you just smiling. And it's so, there's no, and I think we got to work on that. We just have to be radical and just start doing it.
Absolutely.
Be radical and just start moving through the neighborhood with that kind of energy.
That's dope, because I truly believe like the change you desire to see starts with you. So, it becomes infectious, because like when I'm around people, for instance, like the same cousin that was like, why you be saying that? Now she'll call me and she'll be like, hey, Queen. Hey, how you doing? And we joke about it, but it's infectious. It rubbed off on her. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I love it just for that reason alone, that it can, once we are embracing our own radicalism and, invoking the change that we want to see, other people will either jump on or, kind of be like, want to see what it's about. And eventually it will have that domino effect and that spiral effect that we're looking for. So I love it.
We have to make space. We have to make space for people around us to state that they want to see change. Yeah. Right. So when you talk about someone who is saying, I want to be radical, right? I want to make a radical change mentally or physically. You have to be ready for them to say, I don't like the way our relationship works right now. It feels too cold or it feels too standoffish. And you talk about breaking generational curses. It sounds really great to say that, but the fact of the matter is there's some people who don't want that. They don't want that generational curse to be broken because they've been managing that curse, right? So if it's like, oh, something has been going through the family and it's been really being maintained by other family members, those family members have to be ready to make space for someone to say, hold on, I don't want that. I don't want that for me. I don't want that for my children. I don't want that for my significant other. And then they have to allow that change to happen. And a lot of people don't see that support.
That's good. DJ 420 Sweden said, why can't I donate? So I don't know, Billy, do you want to go ahead and answer that?
She wants to donate to Radical Radio?
I don't know. You be specific. If you want it, Billy, last week I asked the question, where can people donate? Because I don't know. I just thought I want people to donate to this platform because it's amazing and they do amazing work. But Billy was saying he wants you guys, if you're looking to donate, he wants you guys to follow the North Chicago Think Tank on Instagram and Facebook. Keep up with them. And he says he needs volunteers.
Yes.
And, you know, I also wanted to encourage those that are not in Lake County, Illinois, where we're from. If you are in your own city and you desire to do something like the North Chicago Think Tank does, that you would contact Billy, because he is really doing some amazing things. He's really, you know, he does the research. He has a team of people. They really are. When we say doing some radical things, I really mean that he's doing some radical things for his city. So if you desire to do the same thing for yours, then I would encourage you to get with Billy and find out how you can do one in your city, because he's all about, you know, the collaboration. And I think it would be amazing to have, you know, think tanks just popping up all over the place. I think that would be amazing. Okay. Yeah. Tony says that you are right, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and if there's something that you want to do right now, you can look through our social media platform and you can share one of the things that we're doing. That's what we really want. We want to raise awareness about the goals that we have and raise awareness about the things that we're doing in the different programs. So even if you just donate your platform, right, and just say, today I'm going to talk about the think tank, and I'm going to talk about this guy and this group and this space and why they're attacking food security and why they're talking about mental health and all of those things, that can really help us. That can really help us right now, because right now we just don't have we want to move away from like transactional help. You know, if you give us money, that's great, but we want to make sure you can see exactly how it's helping the community. And so for now, we just really, really hope that you would share our content.
And I'm just going to say that is amazing, because being in the world of nonprofit, there are a lot of nonprofits that are out there, and you donate and you may not see the funding. You may not see the change. You may not see what they're using the funds for. And I mean, that's just being transparent and being real. We're going to keep it real here. And I just think that it's amazing that, more so than anything, Billy wants you guys to understand that the work that he is putting in is to invoke change in his city. That's his main goal. When I tell y'all, like, he's done the research on the schools in our community. He's done the research on, you know, what our politicians are doing and what they're not doing. And he is not playing, and he wants answers so that he can give the people answers. He has uncovered a whole health clinic that we had right in the heart of North Chicago that a lot of us had no idea that we even had. Like, seriously. So he is out here doing the work to uncover these gems that we have in our community that a lot of us don't even realize that we have. So I want to ask you this, Billy, who's responsible for measuring the rate of change within us and around? These are some loaded questions, y'all, for real. These are like very loaded questions tonight, but let me finish it. I'm sorry. Who's responsible for measuring the rate of change within us and around us?
So I think that we should be creating relationships, right, with each other, and we should be creating almost like community bodies or community systems that do that, right? So there should be some of us that say, where are we, right, when it comes to access to healthy food, or access to health care, or access to social stability? Where are we? And then I think we as individuals have to say, I'm gonna personally say, I'm gonna measure how much I'm changing, right? That's all I can worry about is myself. How much am I changing? And if I start to change, then I should expect to see changes around me, because we are that powerful. When you start making changes, changes start appearing around you. Your vision starts noticing, oh, I've stopped eating that and I've started eating this, and now I'm noticing more about this thing that I've been, eating. And I think for so long we have put a lot of that power into the hands of people who really aren't us, right? I'm not gonna talk about their intent or their will, because I don't know about them, but when you give that power to somebody else, you really put yourself at a loss, right? When you start to say, I want my community to be better, and those people are going to measure the rate of change, That's so dangerous. That's so dangerous. We have to start saying we are responsible, right? If I want to see the change in my parks, for example, I'm gonna start going to the park every week. I'm gonna start going to the park every week, and I'm gonna start taking my babies to the park every week. I'm gonna start taking my dogs to the park.
Yep, absolutely.
Start being out here, and I'm gonna start measuring the change. And I think that's tough. I just want to put that little asterisk out there.
Yes.
It's a lot of work when you already exploited, right? You already exploited. But I think that's what it takes. That's what it takes.
So let's go here. Do you think that in order to invoke that, I heard what you said, we have to change within ourselves and then it spreads, right?
Yeah.
So what I've seen and what I've experienced is, say for instance, you're on a wave of positivity, like you want to be positive, you want to, like you in North Chicago think tank, you want to do the research first, right, before you actually just run out there and say, hey, we need to change this, right?
Yeah.
You actually go in and you do the research and you find out what's really going on, and then you ask questions and you're getting data, before you do this. A lot of people are very eager just to, oh, I see something wrong, I'm going to change that.
Yeah.
And what it does for us, and what I've noticed that it does for us, is it still divides us in such a negative and such a horrible way, to allow other people to use us.
Yes.
And use the fact that we're trying to change things yet against us, because it's like, okay, there they are, they want to argue about it, or they want to fight about it, or they want to riot about it. No, but like, we have to do the changing, we have to do the work within ourselves. But like, I desire so much for my radical comrades,
yes,
right, to be on that level where we know that we have to sit down and we have to prepare, and we have to plan, and we have to execute, because we're already looked at in a negative way anyway.
Yes.
Right.
So back to that
go ahead.
Also, when I talk about us being responsible for measuring that, I want to be clear about measuring being an actual mathematical term, right? And so if someone says, oh, it's cold in here, there's an actual number. There's an actual number, whether it's in Fahrenheit or Celsius, that the temperature dropped. And someone can say, cold in here because the temperature dropped 20 degrees. And I want to turn the heat back up so that we can get back up to the temperature that works best for me, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm going to give you two examples of how that's worked for the North Chicago think tank. We went to the North Chicago Community High School, and we said we want to talk to the principal and the assistant principal, and we want to talk about some changes that could possibly be made to improve the quality of education for our students. And they were very welcoming, and they were like, okay, well, this is what's going on, and we're going to have quarterly meetings, and we're going to start keeping you updated about what's going on, and we're going to let you know how things are going. We're just going to explain to you how the process works. Gotcha. For me, that's enough, because now I'm connected to an actual source who knows what's going on. So there's no gossip, there's no secondhand information. I now have a direct link to the people inside the high school that are doing things. So I'm happy about that collaboration. The other thing is that we work directly with Rosalind Franklin University of Science and Medicine, and Dr. Chin, who is the director of the clinic there, has invited the North Chicago think tank to be part of the faculty advisory board. And what that means is that when interns that come to the medical school want to do projects regarding North Chicago, Waukegan, or Zion, we actually come in and kind of grade those projects to say, does it actually meet the needs of the people, or is this something that you just want to do? So when you talk about saying, I'm responsible for measuring, it means that I need a seat at the table. and I get to say how fast or how slow that change needs to happen. And I think if more community members had that, they could take these seats at these tables and start saying, we are the ones who say what projects should be coming in and how those
in
projects
our communities.
in our community.
Yes.
Yes.
That's amazing. Tony said awesome. She said, I wish someone did that for my generation when we were at NCCHS, North Chicago Community High School, to be exact. Thank you for joining us, Tony. We love you. And yeah, like you're saying, like we are the ones that know what's going on in our community. We are the ones that know, you know, what we've endured within our community. So it would only be right for us to be the ones to have those measures and be able to say, yes, this would benefit our community in a major way. I'm gonna put you on the spot because was it last summer, I don't know, 2020, I think it was, Live for Lolly came into our community. And it is a program that hands out and gives out paraphernalia, I would say, for those that are in the opioid epidemic, right? And it was very, very concerning, like very concerning, because and this is not shade or anything. This is what he's saying as us being held responsible for measuring and knowing what's going on in our community, right? Billy had questions like, who told y'all that this was okay? Like, who signed off on this? Like, who? I just want to know who.
Yes.
You know, so then I can go and talk to that person and ask that person, hey, why did you feel like this was okay? Because from experience, right? If you have family members that have been addicted and things like that, you know how that has affected your family, right? So you want to know the W, was it the W questions?
Yes, the W.
Yes, you want to ask the W questions, like why, when, who? Okay. And I was right there because I'm like, yeah, bro, like nobody knew about this. Like this is it was the first time that we had saw it, and it was just like posted, and we was like, okay, what is this?
And you know what thing about that scenario, I'm so glad that you brought that up because it really ties in. I was on my way to work, and organically, I did not have time to stop. I didn't. And I called my boss and I said, listen, something is going on in my town. I don't know. It's on my block and I need to investigate. And thankfully, my boss, shout out to Vicky Spencer, because she's a real one, take the time. She was like, I'll cover the bar for you until you figure out what's going on, but you need to figure out what's going on in your town. And when I got out and I looked at this purple truck and there was children around this truck and they were giving out paraphernalia, and it made me realize I didn't really know what harm reduction services was, and I didn't know how it was supposed to work, but I was like, all I have is my platform and my cell phone, and I just need to turn on my live, and I just need to start asking questions. And I got attacked. You know, I got attacked verbally by the people. I got told that I didn't have the power to be asking those questions, and I shouldn't be questioning what's going on. But I knew something wasn't right. And I think sometimes we are taught that your gut, you're not supposed to respond to it. You be quiet. You don't have the power to ask those questions. You might feel like something is going wrong or something don't feel right, but you're too busy. You got too much stuff to do.
Yeah, you got bills. I got bills to pay. I got to get to work.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so that's how our brothers and sisters get daylight, right? And so then I just started asking everybody, like, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to say? Who are these people? And they had a police escort, which was even more scarier because it was like, the police is here protecting them while they giving out drug paraphernalia to my brothers and sisters. And, you know, it was just really traumatic. But at that time, I was like, I'm responsible. I'm the one who was going to measure the rate of change for my community. And I had to just stand strong on that. And that's what the North Chicago think tank kind of rests on, is that we have to ask those questions.
And the crazy thing is, what I loved about it, Billy, I'm just going to keep it a buck. Like, you literally went you know, because you was upset. You know, you was visibly turned up, okay? But you went and you asked the questions, how do I handle this? Like, what am I supposed to do with this? Like, what should I do? That's what I loved about it. Just the simple fact that you made sure that now you're more aware, you're more informed, you have the things that you need to make that change. So that's, again, what the North Chicago think tank does. They're not just out here wilding. Like, even if they do, you know, go in and they really don't understand, they will find out. They will, you know, correct themselves and get it right. Because you did. You came back, you was like, okay, wait, I need to figure out some more stuff.
Yeah.
And find out what's going on, and I'll be back. And you was back. Okay. So it worked, you know, for the betterment. But what I will say is, in our communities, we do have to learn how to walk in boldness. A lot of times, like, I was talking to my producer, she had an interview, and people were saying to her that, like, well, I want you to know that this is like a competition. This position that you're going for is a competition. And she was saying to herself, like, I ain't in competition with nobody. Like, I don't do competition. Like, I'm qualified and this is what it is. And I told her in that moment, I said, you know, those are the moments that we have to be bold and say, you know, I am not in competition with anybody. I'm competing with myself. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have to be bold enough to say what we really believe on the inside, instead of letting them tell us what we need to do.
Yes.
You know, and it just don't work like that no more. Like, once you get to that place when you know who you are and you know what's going on. And like I told her, I said, hey, I'm telling you, I'm in that place now where if it had been me, my response would have been, hey, what God has for me, it is for me, whether I'm gonna get it or I'm not. And that's it. But I've learned how to operate in that boldness and not be afraid to you know, say something because I have faith. You know, a lot of times, oh, well, you can't say nothing about, you know, your faith, and you can't say nothing about God, or you can't say something about how you really feel. No, I can, and I will. And you either take it or you don't. And that's fine.
Yeah.
We can agree to disagree, and that's fine. You know, and we have to get to that place as a people to not be afraid to be bold in who we truly are, because what we tend to do is we tend to conform to how they want us to be.
And that hasn't worked for us.
And it has not, and will not work for us. That's why we're having these radical conversations, because it's our goal to, you know, encourage our brothers and our sisters to be bold, to be radical, to be different. When you see something that doesn't sit well with you, that you can have the power to make a change for whatever that is. So yeah, this is good. You know, I love these conversations. These type of conversations really warm my heart. I tell y'all, we could do this for hours. We've done it. So the last question is, what advice do you have for those who find it hard to follow this definition of radicalism? I think we kind of touched on that, but let me hear from you, Billy.
Yeah. So what I would say for my people out there, because burnout is real, and it doesn't have to be just part of a project, right? It could be that you just being burnt out as a mother. You're being burnt out as a father. You're being burnt out as a brother or as a sister or as an employee or whatever. It's hard right now. Somewhere there is someone struggling to get Christmas presents for their family. Someone right now is struggling because they have COVID or they don't know what they're going to do, or, you know. So what we had to do in North Chicago Think Tank, because we made a lot of mistakes in the past year, because we took on too much. We took on too much, and we had started disappointing people, right? Because we couldn't do what we were saying that we were going to do. Or we could do what we were going to do, but it was going to burn out our staff. And I started just losing volunteers. So what we did is we started to look at things in three kind of measurements. One was heavy lift, meaning it was taking a lot of time and a lot of resources, a lot of mental energy. A medium lift, which was, okay, some energy, some resources, some money, and then a light lift, meaning, okay, I could just do that real quick. It ain't gonna cost me no money. It's not gonna cost me a lot of energy. And that really helped us start to categorize our objectives and put them to be honest with ourselves and with our collaborators and with people who wanted to invest in us or people who needed our help. So like someone could come to the think tank and say, I need this. And we could respond and say, yo, that's a heavy lift. And while we do acknowledge that you need that service, we just aren't the ones to give that to you. Now we can do a medium lift. We can do a light lift, but that's what we can do. And I think for those who are watching or those who will see this later on, it's so important to start to categorize things in your life like that. And just let people know, be empowered to say, listen, I only got enough bandwidth. That's one of my favorite terms, bandwidth.
That's good. That's good. That's good.
We have to start talking like that to say, listen, you asking me to do this for you, and I love you. I really wish I could, but I can't. Yes. And it's not that I don't love you. I can help you find someone who can. I'll do that. But I just don't have the bandwidth. I don't have the time, or I don't have the energy, or I just don't have the money. And for our community, we have to get better at that. And we have to not make people feel bad
about it.
If somebody, listen, I don't have the bandwidth. I don't.
Yeah.
In 3 days, I need to do some self-care. Let me try to lick my wounds.
Absolutely. Let me get myself together.
And then I pour from an actual filled cup.
There you go. And again, that goes back to pouring from the empty cup. Tony said it's very real. I'm very burnt out. Just signed, working 60 hours a week, but I'm thankful because at least I'm home and employed. And that's the thing. We say that like, okay, but I'm at home and I'm employed, but the struggle is still real. And even when you say that, like a few years ago, I had to learn the power of no. I had a very hard time telling people no. And my son, he used to tell me, Mom, why do you tell people and you complain about it? Because you really don't want to do it. And when I tell y'all, my kids have been the one that checked me in such, classic ways to make me look at myself to say, how did my son just tell me that? You know what I'm saying? Like, but it opened my eyes. And so I always use this analogy, like, listen, if I'm on a Saturday morning, I get up and I'm running errands, right? And I'm running errands. I've planned out my Saturday morning, how I'm going to run my errands, what I need to do, right? So I go and I run all my errands and I'm done. So I get my food. I'm about to go home. My house is clean. I'm about to chill, right? And then one of my family members calls me and says, hey, I need a ride. Can you come pick me up and take me to the store? My bandwidth has depleted because I put the time into planning my day and what I was going to do. And I was out and about. And unfortunately, you called me once I got back in the house. Now, had you called me while I was running around doing my errands, great. I would have gotten you, done it, no problem. But I had to learn in that moment, Ladina, when you get home and you're home, and if you're tired and you don't feel like getting back up and going back out when you've been out all these hours, you have the power to say no. And you don't feel bad about it.
That's not mean. You're not being mean when you're saying no.
And that's the thing. You're not being mean. You're taking care of yourself to say, hey, I am exhausted because I've done everything that I needed to do. Now I'm exhausted and I've put myself in a position where I was about to relax. So no, I'm not going to be able to do it.
Yeah.
And it empowered, just me rationalizing that in itself empowered me to be able to say no and not feel bad about it. And in business, right? Like you said, my bandwidth, like there's some projects I can't take on because I'm only one person. So if I know that I need a team to put this project together and I don't have the team, guess what? I'm not going to take it. We have to stop taking projects because it pays well if we can't handle them, right? Yeah. And that's like entrepreneurship. I tell people that all the time. Like, if you don't have the capacity to take on the job, don't take it on because you don't want to run the risk of having an unhappy person or unhappy customer or client or whatever the case may be, because you took on something that you knew from the beginning that you couldn't handle. And now you're stressed out and working yourself to oblivion, trying to make it happen all on your own.
Yes. And I think it goes back to really trying to center those words of flourishing and thriving and prospering, right? Is that, you know, if we know that trees sometimes share nutrients under the ground, right? Sometimes the tree will give, but the tree has to be flourishing. The tree has to have an excess of energy that is giving to its, you know, fellow tree to make sure that tree is okay. And this goes back to those measurements, right? And saying, listen, I'm just out here trying to thrive, right? And right now I'm not thriving. I'm really tired and I just don't have it. Maybe I can order you an Uber, or maybe I can, you know, think we have to start hearing no and saying no in a spectrum. And saying the thing that you're asking for, I can't do, but it doesn't mean I can't help you. It doesn't mean, you know, and that's the other thing too. We can start saying, well, brother or sister, like, how did you end up in this situation? Not from a judgment perspective, but I can't help you maybe because you threw it on me on the last minute. Maybe next time, because I schedule my grocery store,
right?
Whatever it may be, knowing that I go every Wednesday at 6, you could start calling me at 5 and
right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Starting to see no in that way, where it's like, I just can't do this exact thing that you're asking me, but I can still help you. It's community building, and it's still authentic volunteer.
There we go. So listen, y'all, this is Radical Talk with the North Chicago Think Tank. I am your girl, Coach L. We have the founder of the North Chicago Think Tank, William Coleman, in the building. We are here, y'all, every other Wednesday at 7 p.m. We are talking about radical changes in our community, why we move in the radical ways that we do. And we are talking about flourishing, thriving, and also
prospering.
I'm going to get it. This is our second show. Don't judge me, y'all. I'm going to get it. But that's what we're talking about. Thriving, flourishing, and prospering in our communities. And we pray that you guys can do the same in yours. This is not only about the North Chicago Think Tank. This is also to encourage you guys in different areas to also do this work in your community. And like I said, Billy is the catalyst. He's the one that could help you if you just have, you know, even a small change that you desire for your community. He would be willing to help you. So please make sure that you go ahead and follow the North Chicago Think Tank. Can you give them your IG handles? I want you to follow his personal page to keep up with his story and what he's doing right now, and also the North Chicago Think Tank.
Yep, I'm typing it right now. Black and Abroad. Oops. That's at Instagram. I don't know if it popped up. And North Chicago Think Tank at Facebook and Instagram. Did that pop up?
Maxi will put it in for us.
Okay.
And as always, go ahead and follow Billy on his page so you can keep up with his story and what he's doing in Acapulco. As always, make sure that you follow us on the Radical Radio page on Instagram as well as Facebook and our YouTube channel. We thank you guys for joining us tonight. We hope that you will join us not next week, but the following week. We hope that you guys have a very, very Merry Christmas. Enjoy your family. Do not burn out. Do not worry if you don't have gifts. This is the season of giving, not receiving. So whatever you don't have, don't worry about it. It's okay. This is a marketing ploy. So, and Rain is in the building. So she says good night to you guys. I love y'all. Good night.